So it is obviously the Detroit Lions on May 29th held a practice that violated the NFL practice rules, right? Too much contact on the field, and it wasn't the players, it was the coaches coaching the players for more contact on the 29th. And the Lions were slapped with an infraction, a penalty, where they lose the June 10th practice. That's today. So today's practice was forfeited because of something that they did last week. And there's been a lot of chatter out there on the internet. The Lions are cheaters. They're cheating. And then, yeah, come on, man. I mean, Joe Chapp from Detroit Lions News Podcast had a great take this week. He put out there, and I'm aligned with this 100%. I don't know about you, Russ, but this is what Joe said. I don't care. I don't care if you're cheated. If you're not cheating, you're not.
The kneecap off.
It's June, for crying out loud. This happened on May 29th. It's OTAs. It's mini camp. So they played a little too hard. I'm glad they got caught, because I don't want to do anything that's, a below board. We want to keep everything on the up and up, right? So I'm glad they got caught. But do you even care? No. If this happened to the Packers, would we be calling them cheaters? No. As much as I hate the Packers, I wouldn't be out there calling them cheaters.
Somebody would be. Darcy probably would.
What I would say is, they're just trying to keep up with the Lions. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say they're cheating. I wouldn't call them cheaters. And Russ, I know you had a great point on this. You told me this just shows you the way they're reacting to this, how scared they are, this Lions team. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm for sure. I mean, I don't know. This isn't that big of a deal. You know, what Dan's been doing since day one is he has only been coaching for less than 5 years right now going into this. So he has been stretching the limits of things and figuring out how far he can do. Oh, I broke right there. So let's pull it back a little bit. So he is trying to squeeze every ounce of time and coaching out of everything. And, sometimes you get burnt on stuff like that, but the rules are meant to be bendable, but not breakable. So they paid for it. They're not no practice today. So
and I don't have a problem with it. Do you?
I mean, I'm not gonna, jump off the bandwagon or, stop drinking the blue Kool-Aid.
Put it in the comments. Let us know what you think. We really want to know what you think. Are the Lions cheaters for this? Does this merit calling them a cheater? I just don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, they broke a rule. They got punished. By the way, I also heard a report, and I haven't been able to confirm it yet. So I want to put that out there that I haven't been able to confirm this. But the Lions actually reported themselves on this. They weren't caught by the league, because the league has officials at every practice and every OTA that wasn't turned in by an official. The Lions actually told on themselves on this. And if that's the case, certainly not cheaters. Davey's in the comment. He says it takes more. Absolutely, Davey. And I think that's what Dan Campbell's been talking about. It takes a little more from when you got to the NFC title game last year and lost it at halftime, a 17-point lead. You want to get to the Super Bowl, it takes a little more. Maybe that's the direction this coaching went when it led to inappropriate contact during OTAs. If that's the case, I'm certainly okay with it.
He let the boys scrap a little bit. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, they coached him.
Hit
harder.
Stop being so soft.
But coach, it's OTAs.
You're going to bite a kneecap off?
Come on.
Yeah, biting kneecaps is against the rules too.
That's not what Manny the Main would say. Manny the Main would man up, and he would say, "Hey, we can hit a little bit. It's all right. You can hit a little bit. Oh shoot, we got in trouble for hitting too much."
Oops. Sorry, you get an extra weekend off in the summer, guys.
You cheaters.
Here's the thing, though, Russ. They're going to actually do away with OTAs altogether. That's you right now if you're calling the Lions a cheater.
I mean, get the F out of here with that.
If you're calling the Lions a cheater, that's you right now. Show it again. Show it again, Russ.
There you are. There you are. That's you.
That's you right now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll try to be there with your feelings.
Right. The queen of memes, Elise Memes, is in the comments. She says, "Hey, dudes, it's a great day to be a Lions fan. Biting each other's kneecaps in May." Yeah,
that's a kneecap off.
It takes more. It takes more. So there we go. Put it in the comments. Let us know if you think the Lions are cheaters on this, or if it just doesn't matter. I think this is just the other fan bases reaching because they know they don't have the Lions to kick around anymore. And that's because of that graphic, what you just put up right there. Look at those young players. Panay Sewell, Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, all under 25 years old. Jack Campbell, all these guys coming back. They're going to be here for 10 years, guys, and these other fan bases know it. Other fan bases like our buddy Steve, who's a Packer fan, says, "What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? We're great today." Thanks, Steve.
Steve's going to hate me today.
And that sounds like a good way to segue right into it. So today we are talking about our top 11 running backs in the NFC. Why 11? Because we're musicians. This one goes to 11. Well, couldn't you just make 10 louder? Yeah, but then this one still goes to 11.
But ours go to 11. So
yeah, there are 16 teams in the NFC. However, some of those teams, their running back room isn't as good. Not one running back in that room is as good as some of the RB2s on some of these other teams. So unlike the quarterbacks we did last week, where we did the starting quarterback for each team, we are going to rank these running backs in order regardless of team, right? And we're not grading the whole room. We're just grading individual players and the top 11 running backs in the NFC. So out of 16 potential slots for 16 teams, we're going to narrow it down to the top 11. And in order to do that,
whoa, man, that's a lot of people. We're going to have to call in some special.
We got to unalive some people. We can't say the KILL word. We can only say unalive you. So what's his name? Pete the Unaliver?
Well, first of all, I mean, this was called down from the top. Manny the Main, he called the shot. So he called up Pete the Unaliver. So he's here to whack the entire room. Like if you don't have a running back in the top 11, then you just get whacked.
Whack him.
You get whacked. Pete the Killer. Let me can I start out?
Yeah, let's let you start.
Okay. So Pete comes in, he's like the Pete the Unaliver. We'll start out with the Washington Commanders. He comes in.
Took care of that thing for you.
You know what? He makes them unalive. The entire room is completely whacked. I mean, who do they have over there? I mean,
Antonio Gibson.
They have Antonio Gibson. Okay. So he's
and they did sign a free agent, but it was a mid-tier free agent. I don't remember offhand who the second RB is in Washington, but I know that they weren't good enough to make the list.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't got anybody that's going to be in the top 11. So,
that thing for you.
We appreciate you, Pete the Unaliver. Yeah, there you go. So, thank you. So, one room completely gone. So, now the listeners know that you don't have to worry about Brian Robinson being on this.
Brian Robinson, there he is. That's their other back. They have Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, the back from Alabama, who got shot in the glute.
They got two okay backs.
And he's okay. This guy's got a lot of promise, Brian Robinson, but going into this year, right now, he's not in the top 11 in the NFC. Anybody who thinks he is, I guess hasn't been paying attention. What else we got, Russ? So that's it. The Washington Commanders were whacking their whole room.
We're going to whack the whole room, man. And really, this entire division, I mean, other than one team. So why don't we just go with the one that has the 4'3" quarterback right there? We're in the Munchkin land right there. So we bring in Pete the Killer's going to whack that entire Carolina Panthers room.
Take care of that thing for you.
Yes, Carolina Panthers with Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, two mid-tier good backup running backs, but not a lead back in sight in Carolina, and their quarterback is a member of the Lollipop Guild. And I don't think Miles Sanders or Chuba Hubbard meets the threshold of the top 11 running backs in the NFC. So we're whacking the whole Carolina running back room is getting whacked here.
And, it's the entire room, but sometimes, if you've seen Goodfellas, it's not like they want to whack these guys. I like Miles Sanders. And actually, you could probably make some arguments for Hubbard as we get into this list a little bit later. So we like you guys. But, for the sake of this list right here, we had to call in Pete.
Took care of that thing for you.
The Unaliver. Going to whack the entire room for him.
Took care of that thing for you.
All right, so there's two rooms gone. So isn't that a little bit faster? I feel like that moves it along.
Yeah. We just cut through all the We don't have to talk about Brian Robinson. We don't have to talk about Chuba Hubbard much because we just whacked the whole room.
Yeah.
They're obviously not in the top 11 backs in this conference.
You can count on him for 500 yards, Mike. Like, I don't know.
But if you are in the comments, though, put it in there. If you disagree, man, if you think Brian Robinson's got enough upside to make this top 11 in the NFC, let us know. We definitely want to argue that point with you. We definitely want your input on that. What's next?
Well, I mean, I want you to have a chance. I want you to whack. I mean, they have a
okay.
You know,
my favorite thing in the whole world.
The power.
My favorite thing in the whole world is hating on the Dallas Cowboys behind hating on the Boston Celtics.
What?
So after losing Tony Pollard, they have Deuce Vaughn, Ezekiel Elliott, and some guy I never heard of. That's their 3 running backs. We're going to whack the entire Dallas Cowboys running back room. They don't have a single back that could crack the top 11. So Dallas, you're whacked.
Well, thank you. Pete the Unalive are going to whack. I mean, when was the last time that you could say that about the Dallas Cowboys? You know, they usually have that top end running back room, but you know, that's what happens. Everybody says that there's no such thing as the cap. The cap is a myth. Well, you don't see the ripple effects until much, much later. And, you know, and it came full circle because Ezekiel Elliott came back. And he's ready to do it for it, but no, none of them make
Ezekiel Elliott, you know, in his prime, a top 5 back in the whole league. And when it comes from 1 yard out, there's probably no one else I'd rather have than Ezekiel Elliott. He's still a beast that way. But we're talking about overall running back, top 11 in the NFC. His time has passed. He's too long in the tooth for that. Joseph's in the comments. He says, Craig Reynolds, number 11.
I love you, but we are actually trying to be realistic with this, and we're doing our best. Nothing against that, though. We love Craig. Come on, Craig. We love Craig. But we're cutting through some of the stuff because really every running back that we're going to talk about that's on both of our lists are going to be, you know, elite running backs. These are guys that are going to be able to carry their teams, you know, all of them really.
Right.
So,
and you have to ask yourself a game of would you rather. Any of these names that we're going to give you on the top 11, you ask yourself, would you rather have one of these guys or one of these guys that we're whacking here? Like, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott. With everybody on this list, I think you would easily say I'd rather have that guy than Ezekiel Elliott at this point in his career. So keep that in mind as you're listening to this list. Also, I think it's time let's keep it right in the NFC East. After losing Saquon Barkley, the New York Giants have what? Devin Singletary? Is that their back now? Who's a mid-tier back? Definitely not good enough to make the top 11. So we're going to have to. That's Dallas. We already whacked them.
Oh, wait a minute. My bad. It was this
and
one.
And we're going to have to whack the entire room of the New York Giants. You paid the wrong guy, as Russell Wayne says. You paid the wrong guy. You paid Daniel Jones, and you let Saquon hang out in the wind on the franchise tag. Now he went to your division rival, and now you have no running back in the top 11 in the NFC.
Right. I agree with you 100%. That's a clean job over there. I don't know what the hell they're doing. They just, maybe they can only allowed to have one good New York team. And with Aaron Rodgers coming back, I guess that's the Jets this year. So I have no problem with you whacking that one.
And when we get to, don't worry, Giants fans, when we get to the defensive line and the linebackers, you guys are going to be up there on the list. Okay. Because you got a hell of a defensive line.
We're going to buy the kneecap
coach. Brian Daboll, you got a good coach, but you don't have a running back in the top 11. So the Giants get wiggity whacked.
So now we come to the surprise. There was a surprise room here. At least it was a surprise to me, because there's a gentleman that's in this final room that won me a fantasy football championship in 2020. So it's like, it kind of blew my mind, but you know, he didn't make nobody from that running back room made your list or my list. So the surprise cut where, man, this is the one that hurts. Like the end of Goodfellas, man, Joe Pesci. You didn't want to see it happen, but you know, they loved him. But you know, the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Saints do not have a running back.
Took care of that thing.
Oh, that was a hard one. That was so hard. that was so hard. Like Alvin Kamara, I love you, man. Like you've been a trooper on my fantasy football team for years and years and years. But last year, your production completely went down, and it happens to a lot of running backs that are out there. And they no longer have a running back in at least our top 11. Mike, what do you think about that cut?
I agree with it, and it is startling that Alvin Kamara is not in the top 11 running backs in the NFC. But let's look at it. Let's really break it down a little bit here, Russ. When he was winning you that championship in fantasy, he had Mark Ingram there. He still wasn't a feature bell cow back that handled the ball 25 times on the ground every game. He never was that. They had Latavius Murray. They've had Mark Ingram. They've had this slew of other backs that go with him. Now, the most effective true runner on the team is Taysom Hill, who's a quarterback tight end combination. And he's the most effective runner in a ground game. Alvin Kamara is still an effective receiver, but he just doesn't do enough in the rushing game to make it in the top 11 running backs in the NFC, in my opinion, and yours as well.
So here we are, Mike. We have we finally gotten to a spot where we're going to be able to count on at least one running back making it from every other team, at least from you or me, because we do have one difference, but it's kind of uncanny on how many of the teams actually had like where the drop off is, where it's just like, oh, okay, now you guys are by committee. And then there's literally like 11 starting level running backs that you can ask to carry the load. And that's where we're at right now. Mike, do you want to, I want you to kick this off right here, because this is our first annual that we're doing this. And I got a feeling that we're going to keep on doing this every year. So we want everybody to understand the rules of how this really works. There's a bunch of different factors that go in: what you did previously, what situation that you're going into. So if you had a bad offensive line and then you go to a good offensive line, well, I expect that production to go up, to meet your talent. So we're going to take all of those things into consideration as we go through here. Mike, who is your 11th running back in the NFC?
Well, Russ, my number 11 running back in the NFC is in Arizona, and that is James Conner. Would you rather have James Conner or Alvin Kamara? I'd rather have James Conner. He's a workhorse. He's a touchdown machine. He's getting a little long in the tooth. Look at his O-line is ranked there as an 11. Last year, he had 7 touchdowns, 1,039 yards. But look at that yard per carry average, 5 yards per carry. And that was with no quarterback last year. Now with Kyler Murray back, they've got Marvin Harrison Jr. It's going to open up the run. Trey McBride, their young tight end, really coming into his own. He's going to be a stud and a top-ranked tight end by the end of the season. Another weapon for Kyler Murray. And all that does is make life easier for James Conner and make him a shoo-in for the top 11, in my opinion.
I love it. And I am going to be talking about James Conner, but it's just not yet. So I love that call at number 11.
All right, so you got Conner higher on your list than 11. Okay.
Yes, I do. On my list, and I have to, oh gosh, I should have labeled this guy. I can't see these so well. Where are we at there? Oh, there we go. Here. Okay. So number 11 on my list of running backs in the NFC is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had 875 yards, 5 TDs on only 182 attempts, 4.8 yards per carry. And I have another stat in there, 10-plus yard runs. I think that's an important stat, because if you are in the secondary part and you're being tackled, that means that you're doing your job as a running back in the 10-plus yards. And I like where he was at with that. And him going to the situation in Minnesota, I honestly believe that Minnesota has a better running offensive line, and it's going to give him an opportunity to do some things right there. And I think he is absolutely a franchise type running back. He gives you value out of the backfield as a pass catcher. I think he's the number 11 running back in the NFC.
And folks, in case you know, we don't know each other's list, right? Okay, we don't know. And I'm shocked at this, Russ. Okay, I want to talk about this for a minute. You would rather have James Conner than Aaron Jones.
I'm looking at some different things. So when I looked at and I wanted to talk about James Conner when I came up.
But just simple. Based on your list, you've got Aaron Jones at 11.
Simply put, James Conner is better than you think that he is.
Okay, well, I got him at 11. You got him. Spoiler alert, I have Aaron Jones much higher. Not just a little higher. I have him much higher. So that's a shock right off the bat for me, buddy. Bear Down Mike says Aaron Jones is way better than James Conner. I have to agree with you there, Mike.
Well, I mean, but the thing is that wasn't backed up last year. Like it wasn't that. I mean, and it maybe if it was, him being injured, that's fine. That's fine. I'll actually give you that cop out because he didn't get to play the whole season, right? And him being at number 11, but like I said, everybody that's on this list, I think, is a worthy franchise type running back. I don't care where it is in the talent level between, 11 and 5. It's like this much, guys.
Right. I agree with that 100%. But, and you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not attacking you for it there, Russ. It's all good. And let us know. Put it in the comments what you think. Is Russ crazy? Yeah, he's got Aaron Jones at 11. Moving on. Number 10 on the list for main event, Mike. It's ye of the fragile toenail, DeAndre Swift. For the Chicago Bears. Oft injured DeAndre Swift. Last year, he played behind the best offensive line in football, the Philadelphia Eagles. Not going to be such easy sledding for him this year. He still makes the top 11 in my book because he's just got so much talent. If he can stay healthy and stay on the field, he could do very well, even behind a lesser offensive line that they're going to have in Chicago. So I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift at number 10.
Wow, man. Sometimes I love how these like Doctor Strange worlds work where you think I'm crazy on this pick and I think that you're crazy on that pick. But when it comes down to every once in a while, it lines up like it does right here. My number 10 running back is DeAndre Swift. Because he had 1,000 yards last year behind a very, very good offensive line. I want you guys to understand that he is going, and this is backed up right here. I'm using PFF, so I want to be able to help you guys out. I don't know if I should do this before or after.
Go ahead.
But DeAndre Swift, coming from a very, very good offensive line. I think that the Bears offensive line is good, but he's coming from an elite offensive line. So he had 23 runs at 10 plus yards, but I'd like to see that yards per carry be up a little bit, but he's franchise running back. Honestly, I think that Khalil Herbert was creeping in here when I was looking at their numbers of being. So I think the Bears have like 3 guys that are really good. And that, that's why he have one here that's at the bottom of the list. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, I think them as a trio, the whole room together, they're very, very, very strong. But I'll bring in him, number 11. On my list right there. And everybody can call me crazy. I'm sorry. My mind, I'm trying to do graphics and
no one is calling you crazy except Aiden Powell. He says you're crazy. Matt Henry says, good evening, fellas. And then J Mommy in the house. J Mommy says, this is the 3rd team that Swift's been with in 3 years. I wonder if it's a locker room thing. That's a great call because we know the talent is there, right? And in that graphic you showed, Russ, 4.5 yards per carry. That's a damn good YPC average. Okay.
Yeah.
But another thing that you're not showing on that is he was 3.7 yards before contact.
That
behind that offensive line, 3.7 yard, the highest in the league of yards before contact, and then his yards per carry is only 4.5. That shows you he's not good at breaking tackles like David Montgomery and like other backs in this league that are really good at breaking tackles. DeAndre Swift's not that guy. He's going to run around you. He's going to juke you. He's not going to put his head down and run through you or break tackles. That's not his game. They do have Roschon Johnson in Chicago, who is very good at that, and he's young. He's a guy that Russ and I liked coming out of college. We wanted to see the Lions take a late round flyer on him, but the Bears snatched him up 2 rounds too early. And a nice addition to that running back room is Roschon Johnson. And, of course, Khalil Herbert. Good pass catcher out of the backfield. Good, solid, shifty between the tackles runner. They've got a nice trio of backs. But DeAndre Swift, definitely the cream of the crop of those 3, and he comes in at number 10 on both of our lists. Coming in at number 9 on the main event Mike list, it's Kyren Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. This guy came out of nowhere last year. Who? Kyren Williams. I got him on my fantasy team, and I won a championship last year with this guy. He was a late waiver wire pickup for me after he had 100-yard game. I beat everyone else to the waiver wire, and I picked him up. And look at that, 1,200 yards. This was a breakout season behind a suspect offensive line. 5 yards per carry average. Kyren Williams looks like an up-and-coming stud. They go and draft Blake Corum to add to that room. Going to add some competition. There's a lot of people out there that think Blake Corum will actually pass Kyren Williams this year. If that happens, we could see 2 Ram running backs on this list next year. What do you think, Russ?
I think it's possible. And I love the pick of Kyren Williams. He absolutely is a franchise type of running back. And I'm telling you, like, this was another one of those running backs that really surprised me when I dug into like how good he really was and what he really did do. And I'm going to give the Rams offensive line a little bit more credit. They're right around average. I wouldn't say it was suspect. I would say that it's just about average. But they're not doing you any favors. So, but
one thing they do have is a great passing game, of course, with Matt Stafford and those great receivers that they have. That takes some of the pressure off of the running backs. So he's in a really good situation, Kyren Williams. And hey, the kid's talented. He had a great nose for the end zone last year. I really think the Rams did a great job. Les Snead, he's a Jedi over there at GM. I think they did a great job. They didn't have first-round draft picks forever, and here they were back in the playoffs last year making a run. So Kyren Williams comes in at number 9. What do you got at 9?
So I'm seeing the differences between how you and I are looking at these things. I think that you're giving more credit to talent, which is like guy that you would rather have on your team. And I'm just so sick of running backs that do things or quarterbacks that do things that actually put up numbers getting disrespected in rankings. So a lot of my rankings are going to reflect the fact that I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. I'm going to say this guy did well last year, and he did way better than we thought. Now, this one right here, I have to put on the list as what we at number 9 now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Kenneth Walker, the third. I have a number 9 with 900 yards, 8 touchdowns, 219 touches. You know, when you're averaging over 4 yards a carry, you're doing good. 24 explosive runs, but his offensive line isn't doing him any favors over there. But, where I'm at with Kenneth Walker, he could be 5 spots higher on this list if he could just, lock it in and put a full season together and be Kenneth Walker that we want to see. So he could be franchise, but you got Charbonnet over there now. You got a good running back room. I love Pete Carroll. I mean, the guy's always going to put together a competitive team.
But he's not there anymore. It's Mike McDonald now, the coach of Seattle. But however, I see your point,
Carroll.
And I love your point though, because the Kenneth Walker we know that he is, the back that he is. That's why I've got him higher than you on this list, not based on what he did last year, because like you said, if he could put a full season together, we know he'd be much higher on this list. And that's how I ranked him today. I've got Kenneth Walker much higher than 9 on this list, based on the kind of back we know he is.
Yeah, one thing, Kenneth Walker, 637 yards after contact. So, I mean, I looked at a whole bunch of different metrics, and he was up there in the top 10 in most everything.
Mhm.
So, I
He
mean,
missed a few games from injury though,
right.
and that hurts him in this list.
Well, when way I'm looking at it, because I do want to give credit to the people, and you'll notice that as this goes forward with that, especially when it comes with our guys. But where are you guys at on your list? You probably think I'm crazy or Mike's crazy.
J Mommy says my DNA can't pick K9 because he's a Spartan. Go blue.
Okay. Oh gosh, we have to elevate above that, and you know these
No.
guys.
We're
know,
Wolverine fans. We don't rise above.
I
anything.
feel you.
All right,
But
so
I love me some Aiden Hutchinson now, and I know you love you some Taylor Decker. So let's be friends from this one.
All right, I'm down with that. All right. This brings us to number 8 on our list of top 11 running backs in the NFC. If you haven't done so already, please head on over to our page. It's Lions Villain Squad on Facebook, and like the page. Would you? If you're watching on this platform right now, I notice only 4 people on the platform I'm watching on have hit the like button. Hit like or heart or something. Hit some button. It helps us, would you? It helps us a little bit, and we appreciate it a whole lot. Daniel's in the comments. He says, I think the Lions will make it to the Super Bowl this year. Me too, Daniel. But if you feel that strong, it's plus 1,200 is the odds for the Lions to make it to the Super Bowl. So if you bet $100, you'll win your 100 plus $1,200. So,
wow.
Always remember, gamble responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Never bet more than you can afford to lose, and never chase losses. This message brought to you by the Villain Squad. There we go. All right, number 8 on this list of top 11 running backs in the NFC for main event Mike. Steve, it's your boy. Josh Jacobs comes in at number 8, Green Bay Packers. That's right. He comes in lower than Aaron Jones on my list because I don't think he's as good of a running back as Aaron Jones. He certainly doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield as good as Aaron Jones. Last year, he only had 805 yards. He had a 3.5 yard average, and that was on a crappy Raiders team. Now he's coming to a better Packers team. But again, that offensive line still a little suspect. Is he going to be able to do what Aaron Jones did? I don't think so. I do not think he's going to be able to live up to what Aaron Jones put up last year. And that's why I have Josh Jacobs at number 8.
Right on. I got to find my guy in here. There we are. And this one, I got a feeling this man might not even be on your list, but this was somebody that I was looking at right here as my number 8. And I just, every time I'm looking at a top 10 metric, and I'm going to show this to you guys when we're all done with this list and we're still going up, I want to show you what I was looking at for all the nerd heads that are out there. But Rachaad White from Tampa Bay, I couldn't unsee the things that he was doing. They love to pound the rock. They love to beat running backs up against a brick wall over there. He had 1,100 yards. He had 6 touchdowns, and he was in the top 7-6 of every category. 10-yard plus runs. He was doing all the dirty work that was in there. So he was somebody that I was trying to put other guys in. I was trying not to be a hater, but I have to give credit where credit is due. 1,000-yard rushers, even though it's a little bit easier now than it was, that's still a good feat. There's like maybe 8-10 people that do that every year, So Rachaad White, that's my
it's a solid pick. It's a solid pick. Rachaad White did not make my list. But in hindsight, maybe he should have, because like you just showed that graphic, you want to pop that up again? Over 1,100 yards. He takes over from Fournette from last year and becomes the feature back last year, and he has a breakout year. A 3.7 yards per carry average. He had 10-plus runs. He had 26 runs over 10 yards, which is a big number on this list.
Top 10. Yeah.
And a good offensive line there in Tampa. Rachaad probably should have made this list for me. I just need to see it one more year before I can put him ahead of even a guy like Josh Jacobs, who had a monster season in 2022. So maybe I'm giving a little too much credit for the past for Josh Jacobs. over Rachaad White. Rachaad White did not make my list, so I do like your pick there. Steve says, no, move Josh Jacobs up higher. Not cool, dude. Not cool, man. I said you're Kevin Sullivan, a.k.a. the Taskmaster. I don't even know what that means, Steve, because I don't watch wrestling.
So Rachaad White, I wanted to add there's a cool stat that I wanted to throw in for you guys for these guys, but Rachaad White yards after contact was 787. He was in the top 3 in yards after contact. And Josh Jacobs, he had 547 yards after contact, to put it into context. And Rachaad White was one of those guys where I'm trying to put Josh Jacobs in. You just spent all that money. I'm trying to, fit him in there ahead of Rachaad White, and I can't do it. I can't just take a guy that whipped your ass in every metric: yards per carry, more touchdowns, more 20-yard runs, more 10-yard runs. Like, in every metric, he whipped your ass, and I had to put Rachaad White in there. I'm sorry, Steve.
That's all right. We'll let you with number 7 on our list of top 11 running backs in the NFC.
Oh, you want me to do 7? Oh, okay. So here's where I have your boy, James Conner. So and this, there were a couple of things that stood out when it came to James Conner. For one, he did have over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, right? And only 208 carries. He averaged 5 yards a carry, and he was second in the league with 30. What was that? I have to look at that again. 31 runs of 10 plus. And the O-line is a bunch of road graders. So like, and when I'm looking at the metric and the road grading right here, let me get in here. I got to show the
PFF rushing grades.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I wanted right here. So, but when you look at that,
Arizona's way down. You got to keep scrolling just to get to Arizona.
I do. I may have screwed that one up. Do I?
There he is.
Yeah. On the run blocking, run grade up. They're the number 1 run team. I mean, I don't know what that means. The PFF
they had no quarterback last year. They had no quarterback. They had to run the ball every game.
So what I'm saying is James Conner did that made them that good of a running team with no run blocking. Where's that? Were they 26th? So, and that's what I really wanted you to see with that. James Conner, I just think, I love you guys. I do. I love you, but I dove into this. I did a little bit of research on it, and I couldn't unsee what I saw right there. And James Conner is a lot better than you guys think that he is, if you guys are trying to laugh at me. And that's fine. You can make fun of me if you want for putting James Conner up this high, but this guy was just told by everybody, that when he left Pittsburgh, he was part of a system, and he proved that he wasn't.
That's right.
I mean, 5 yards a carry. I mean,
he absolutely proved it wasn't the system in Pittsburgh that made him good there. That's a great call out.
And after contact, 817 yards for James Conner. Get some.
I had James Conner at number 11 on my list. Russell Wayne comes in at number 7 with James Conner. Number 7 for me, the sophomore, Bijan Robinson from Atlanta, comes in at number 7 on Main Event Mike's list of top 11 running backs in the NFC. You see there, he only had 732 yards, but he also had Tyler Algier splitting carries with him, a 4.1 yard per carry average. They expect him to be a featured back more this year, and we all know the talent is there. Some of those runs that he had last year, some of those plays, he flashed some real skills. I think he's going to burst on the scene this year. I think you take Bijan Robinson on your fantasy team higher than his average draft projection, because he's going to outperform his ADP this year. Bijan Robinson, number 7 on my list. What do you think of that pick?
I love that pick, because it really does segue into my number 6 guy.
Okay.
Which is, my number 6 guy is, Bijan Robinson. Yes, number 6 on my list is Bijan Robinson. 732 yards. The production, and him having Tyler Algier over there, taking carries from him, but I think that I want to put him higher because I know that he has the talent to be maybe the best running back in the league. But right now I think that's a nice spot to stick him right there at number 6. I did want to put him higher just because of talent, but just from production, I like that he had, let me look here. Bijan had 663 yards after contact. And, I like his first year stats right there. Only 214 carries. So you're averaging over 4 yards a carry. And that's where you want to be. And then 10 plus yards right there. Top 5 in the league. That's what you want to see. You want a guy that's going to be able to break games open. And Bijan Robinson is that type of dude.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to buy the kneecap off.
Matt Henry says, bear down. Jason MC, welcome back. Jason says he's been a while, but he knows he's still around. Skull. Right on. Welcome back, Jason. So that was Russell's number 6 pick, Bijan Robinson. That brings it to my number 6 pick, which is David Montgomery from the Detroit Lions. Comes in at number 6 on the top 11 running backs in the NFC. What's that tell you, folks? That's right. The Detroit Lions get 2 running backs in the top 11, and David Montgomery is still RB1 here. I know all you Jahmyr Gibbs lovers want to think that Jahmyr is number 1, but he's not. David Montgomery is still RB1 on this team until further notice, until Jahmyr Gibbs comes in and takes it from him. Has David Montgomery done anything to lose that job? Let's look at those stats again and see. 1,198 yards from scrimmage, rushing, 15 touchdowns, 4.6 yard average, 28 runs over 10 plus yards, and he's not very fast. His O-line, of course, gets an 11, but he proved in Chicago he's one of the best backs in the entire league to breaking tackles. He doesn't need that good offensive line to still get 1,000 yards and be effective. He's a stud. If we were to let him go tomorrow, there'd be a line around the corner of teams trying to pick up David Montgomery on their teams. Why? Because he's one of the top 11 running backs in the NFC.
I love it. I love that. I love that. And you and I actually have them flip-flopped in the energy that I'm giving Detroit Lions. The thing is like, I can't unsee some of those stats right there. And we're going to get back to that when I bring David Montgomery up. But my number 5 running back in the NFC is that kid that you were just talking about, is Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs. 1,000.
You got him at number 5?
I have him in number 5. Yes, I do. Okay. Yep. He and Jahmyr Gibbs to me is a lot like Bijan Robinson. It's like you see the talent that's there. You could see him kind of breaking out. I think that he definitely deserved to be ahead of Bijan Robinson because of what he can offer. I mean, look at that. Look at that. He was actually second in the league, 10 plus yard runs, 33. Obviously the O-line helps with that, but he got 1,089 yards according to PFF. This is all PFF grade right here. And he got 13 touchdowns and only on 211 attempts, 5.2 yards a carry. I mean, this guy is a breakout in the making right there. And that's why I have Jahmyr Gibbs at number 5.
Over 30 runs, over 10 plus yards. As Jay Mommy points out, nobody had more 20-yard runs than Jahmyr Gibbs last year. That alone would put him in the top 5. I have yet to get Gibbs up there, but you've got him at number 5. What do you have at number 4, Russ?
What about your number 5?
I didn't give my number 5 yet, did I?
I'd love to give you my number 4, but we're not ready for that yet.
My number 5 is based on what we know he can be, and that's Kenneth Walker, K9 from Seattle.
Okay.
And when I say that, Russ, it's just because when I look down this list and I play the game of would you rather, I look at who else is on my list. Would I rather have Kenneth Walker than David Montgomery? They're basically the same player, but Kenneth Walker is younger. Their skill set is almost identical. Yes, I'd rather have Kenneth Walker than David Montgomery. Would I rather have him than Bijan Robinson? That's a toughie. That's a real toughie based on skill set because Bijan can do a lot of things. but I still got to give it to Kenneth Walker because he runs so much harder between the tackles. When I need 1 yard to get a first down, I trust K9 more than I trust Bijan Robinson. So any of these guys on the list below K9, I got to put him up there. I'm also a Wolverine. I don't like voting for Spartans either, but I got to respect what this kid did, especially against Michigan in that game where he scored 4 touchdowns or whatever, 269 yards. And what he's done as a pro, he's been a great pro, was a great draft pick by Seattle. He's going to be around for a long time. Kenneth Walker comes in number 5 on Main Event Mike's list of top 11 running backs in the NFC.
Love it. I love it. And I don't mind that. I really, if you want to give that nod, I mean, like I said, I can throw Bijan up higher. I can throw the talented guys, the guys I would rather have, but I'm a blue chipper, guys. I love the way Dan Campbell's building this team in Detroit. So I want to give credit to the guys that are going out there and actually doing the job, not projected to do the job, not the guy we all think is going to be the guy that's doing the job and then is in a situation that he can continue to do that job. So, and that's why, and this is a situation here where a guy would have been a little bit lower last year because I hated the dumpster fire of the New York Giants and that situation that was in there. But when I look at my number 4 running back right here, let me get him up here. I got to find him. Where are you at? Oh my gosh. There we go. Saquon Barkley. 900. I mean, and the thing is like this guy might end up being the number 1 running back in the NFL this year because he's going into an 11 situation. The O-line is 100% better, 180 degrees in the opposite direction better in Philadelphia than it was there. Saquon Barkley is going to be given every chance to succeed when it comes in there. And when you look at what he can do, he had 26 runs over 10 yards, 247 attempts. They worked it. They ran him up against the wall. Still had 8 touchdowns, but he's going into a situation. He's going into a really, really good situation right here. And I want to put him higher on the list, but because of the way that I was doing it, I was doing like a money ball type of situation when I was picking these guys. I was weighing talent. I was only letting that be a little de factor right there. And I love the situation that he's going into, but I got Saquon Barkley slotted in at number 4 on my list.
I like it. I have Saquon Barkley in the top 3 running backs in the entire league, not just in the NFC. Saquon Barkley can do it all. And all the teams that passed on him in the draft were going to rue the day that they didn't draft Saquon Barkley. He's going to do great things in Philadelphia. You watch. He's already done great things in the Giants. This kid's a gamer. He's one of the best runners in the business, one of the best at catching the ball out of the backfield as well. So Russ Wayne pulls out Saquon Barkley at number 4 in his top 11 running backs in the NFC. For my number 4 running back, it's a guy that Russell had number 11 on this list. This guy barely made Russ's list. I have him all the way up at number 4, and that is Jason MC's question, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones comes in at number 4 on my list because why? Because he's a dog. That's why. Aaron Jones is a dog. He was nicked up a little bit last year, and still look what he did. He, hands down, last 5 weeks of the season in the playoffs, he was the best running back in the NFL, and the stats show that. Aaron Jones is a dog. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder coming into Minnesota, running behind at least as good or better of an offensive line in Minnesota than he had in Green Bay. And he's going to have all those weapons out there, JJ, Addison, Hawkinson. That's going to lighten up the load for him. We're still a little iffy about the quarterback play, but Sam Darnold's capable, and he can get the ball downfield, and that's going to open up things for Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, the 4th best running back in the NFC, in my opinion.
All right. I like that. So where are you guys at on your list? Hey, Mike, you guys want to run up some of these comments before we get into our top three right here?
I've pretty much been keeping up with it already.
Okay.
I like this call by J Mommy talking about Bijan Robinson. Didn't do much against the Lions. A good run defense makes me wonder about him. Absolutely. But J Mommy, there's a lot of speculation out there that they didn't use Bijan correctly. Arthur Smith probably lost his job because they were only able to win 7 games 3 years in a row. And even after getting Bijan, they thought that was going to be a good pick. But I don't think they've drafted well. Bijan being a great player, that wasn't a real good pick for them. I didn't think they had so many other needs that they didn't address. And then when Arthur Smith goes 7 wins again, they get rid of him. Now Raheem Morris is in there. They say that here they're going to feature him a lot more. Tyler Algier did a great job, but now it's time for him to take a step back and see what Bijan can do. And we'll see if you're right on that, J-Mal, because it just didn't use him right. But I love the call out. Thanks. Now we're moving on to number 3. And my number 3 on this list, Jahmyr Gibbs. Coming into his second year, he already ranks ahead of Monty and me. Even though Monty is the number 1 RB on this team, we are ranking these players individually. And in my opinion, I'd rather have Jahmyr Gibbs than any of the 9 guys I've got listed below, or the 8 guys I've got listed below him. Throw them stats up there again one more time, Russ. Sorry. I was yakking. Over 1,000 yards, and that doesn't even include his receiving yards. His receiving yards was what? Over 500 receiving yards. I know he had. A 5.2 yard per carry average. Some of them runs were absolutely electric. He had over 10-plus yard runs, over 33 of them. 33 runs over 10-plus yards, I should say. Jahmyr Gibbs, a lock top 3 running back in the NFC. You don't believe me? Just wait till your fantasy football draft. You'll see.
I believe you on the fantasy football part of it right here. But my number 3 back is something this may really surprise you, but this is a guy that surprised me when I was looking at it. I couldn't even believe the stats that he put up. How he's like quietly this young stud. But I'm going to go with Kyren Williams, number 3 running back. 1,205 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, 28 runs of over 10 yards. And the middle of that offensive line, if you look at the Rams in the middle of their offensive line, they have their top 10. In the middle of that offensive line, they just added Jonah Jackson, and I know that he's a road grader. He was here. Wow. And so I got Kyren Williams. The kid just went out. I mean, he's outproduced. How am I supposed to put, Josh Jacobs ahead of a guy that had 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns, more yards, really better in every single metric that you can do. And the situation's even better. So it's like, I don't know. I got Kyren Williams at number 3.
That's fair.
In the NFC.
That's fair. I've got Kyren Williams at number 9, so he did make my top 11.
Yep.
And I gotta agree with you on this, that maybe I've got him too low. When you look at those stats he just put up, those are impressive numbers. And how can you justify even a guy like Saquon Barkley, who you showed his stat 900 yards last year? This guy had 1,200 yards last year. So how can you possibly, right? I mean, Josh Jacobs, 805 yards. How can you possibly put Josh Jacobs ahead of Kyren Williams when you look at those numbers? I've got Kyren Williams at number 9. You've got him at number 3. I was prepared to laugh at you about it, but once you show me the stats, I guess I see it. And maybe I've got him a little too low. Put it in the comments. Tell us what you think. Kyren Williams closer to the 3rd best running back in the NFC or the 11th best? Or what do I got him? No, the 9th best running back in the NFC. Let us know. Barry says Gibbs is going to have 1,600 yards combined this season. That's a great call out, Barry. I love it. Roy says Lions shut Saquon down the last time they played him too. Yeah, because he was the whole team. They have nobody to catch the ball. Everybody's able to key in on Saquon. You watch A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, all these weapons they've got in Philly. It's going to unlock Saquon, buddy. Wow. You watch. And he's a Philly kid. He's a Pennsylvania guy. He's going to be so stoked to play for his hometown team. It's going to be ugly with Saquon. I'm taking him 1st overall in my fantasy league if I can't take the number 1 running back in the NFC.
So you may have some, buyer remorse on Josh Jacobs right now. I actually have some buyer remorse by putting Jalen Hurts too low, because you've actually sold me on like, wow, this Philadelphia offense, it might be, special, because that they got some dudes over there,
Yep. And they cut out the cancer and got rid of Matt Patricia. So that slide they were on last year, and now you bring in a guy like Saquon, I fully expect them to rebound and take that division back from Dallas this year.
Right.
Steve says he thinks that Kyron Williams is closer to third best than ninth best. So that's a good call out. Steve, he agrees with you. Time now for the top two. And while we're on that tip, I'll just go ahead and go. Number 2 for me is Saquon Barkley.
All right.
For all those aforementioned reasons, Saquon Barkley, the number 2, and I think you guys all see where this is going with number 1. But for me, it's Saquon Barkley, the second best running back in the league, in the NFC, possibly top 3, top 4 in the entire league. What do you think, Russ?
I love the pick, because the thing is like, I wanted to put him up higher. It's like, I love the situation that he's going into right there, but you got to understand, all 11 of these running backs are studs, guys. We're talking about the top 11 running back. We're not talking about, there's teams that have 2 decent running backs. I'm not talking about decent running backs. I'm talking about the ones that you could throw 20 plus carries on, and Lions have 2 of those guys. And they put up the numbers last year. And I like the guys that actually put up the numbers. Like my number 2, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. You may seem like a homer, but I tried to not have it be this high. But David Montgomery is my number 2 running back. 1,198 yards, 15 touchdowns, second in touchdowns, 4.6 yards a carry. 28 times he went over 10 yards. He's got an awesome offensive line. And it's like, Mike, you told me that last week. You're like, yeah, David Montgomery. And I'm thinking, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs just going to take over. David Montgomery didn't do anything but be a stud. He's the second. I mean, you can't take him out of the top 10. 15 touchdowns. He was second in touchdowns in the NFC. That is not nothing.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, every time he touched the ball, he's like a battering ram. So, David Montgomery deserves his flower. I think they've been disrespected in the national media, the Detroit running game, by putting other running game. They can't hold a candle to that. We had 2 guys that produced over 1,000 yards rushing last year. I mean, get the F out of here with that other BS. You're going to put Josh Jacobs? Really? Does any Packer fan, Steve, I challenge you, bring that Josh Jacobs. He does not deserve to be in there ahead of both of my running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs is better, and David Montgomery is better than Josh Jacobs. And it's a fact. And I was thinking I was being a homer by trying to keep both those guys in. But I was like thinking that the other fan bases would have to be homers to try to keep both of those guys out.
Right. No, I think you're 100% right. You are a homer. But I like that you got David Montgomery number 2. You've actually got the 2 Lions backs in the top 5. And I don't think that's homerism. I think if you look at it, any of these teams would shit can their running back to take either one of these guys. So I think it's legit. I have Monty at number 6 and Jahmyr Gibbs at 3. You have Monty at 2 and Gibbs at 5. And I think we're trying not to be homerish. We're trying to be fair. I think that is fair.
I'm sorry, my running backs produce.
Right. Time now for the number 1 pick, top 11 running backs in the NFC. And Russell and I are definitely aligned on this. We only agreed on 2, and that was number 10, DeAndre Swift, and number 1, Christian McCaffrey. 1,700 yards rushing, 331 attempts till his legs fell off, a 5.2 yard per carry average, and he's got an 11 for an offensive line. So no doubt Christian McCaffrey, the number 1 running back in all of football, not just the NFC. And he's also number 1 on the Villain Squad top 11 list of running backs in the NFC. And you know what? They're paying him accordingly. $19 million a season for a running back. He better be that good. And I think he is that good.
Yep.
But one injury, and he's got an injury history from Carolina, buddy. He was able to stay healthy in San Fran. One injury can derail this guy and derail the whole team out there in San Francisco. They rely on this guy. Even though they have all these other weapons, they count on everything runs through Christian McCaffrey. The passing game gets opened up by him running the ball. Him running the ball gets opened up by them throwing him the ball. So everything the Niners do runs through McCaffrey. He's definitely the best running back in the NFC, arguably in the league altogether. So there it is. Both of our number ones, Christian McCaffrey. Did you want to add to that, Russ?
I mean, he's the best running back in the league. And really, the only thing I really want to add to it is really when we're talking about the top 5 of both of our lists right here, we're talking about elite guys. All 5 of those running backs, or really all 11 of these running backs could end up going for, 1,212 touchdowns from 1 to 11. So that's one thing I hate about lists is that people are like, oh, I can't believe I didn't put Josh Jacobs on this list. And it's not because I don't think that Josh Jacobs is a good running back, but my list did not have him on there. And really there's nothing to me. I don't think I disrespected him at all by any of the guys that I put on this list.
Leave that list up for a second though. Go ahead.
Hold on
finish
one
your
second.
point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead and finish your point. I'm sorry.
But that's it. I mean,
Okay.
None of these guys don't deserve the beyond, not be on there in front of Josh Jacobs.
And just don't pay attention to the spelling errors, guys. He's from Ohio. Anyway, I got what you're saying here, Russell. I do. And I got to ask, I have Josh Jacobs at number 8, and I got to look at this list and say, are any of these guys, would I rather have Josh Jacobs than Rachaad White? Yes. Would I rather have Josh Jacobs than, James Conner? Yes, I would. So that's why I got to put Josh Jacobs. When I play the game of Would You Rather, and I look at these and I put them on a scale, and I'm not looking at the stats like you are. And I appreciate what you're doing there, looking at the stats. But if I have to just say, would you rather, I'd rather have Josh Jacobs than a couple of these guys on your list.
And that's fair.
And that's fair. Yeah.
And here we are. And there's your list right there. And I have no problem with your list. I have no problem with somebody that wants to project talent, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to project talent and say, hey, he's going to go into this situation and I think it's going to be better. And I don't know. I'm giving credit right there. Like Rachaad White, over 1,000. It's over 1,000. I mean, you can't he had a better year than Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs has really only had one good year when I look back through it. I mean, he's going off of the famousness of that. I mean, I don't know, but it's okay though. I don't mind Josh Jacobs. I think that he could do very well in Green Bay. But I also know that he averaged 3.5 yards a carry, and there's an illusion out there that he's going into a better offensive line situation, and he's not. So it's, it's equal. But to say they have a lot more. Thank you, Mike. It immediately took my tone back to a little bit. I have nothing against Josh Jacobs. Just because you're not in the top 11 running backs in the NFC, that doesn't mean you're not a good running back. Like you said, Roschon Johnson is good. Honestly, I could have made a case for Chuba Hubbard over Josh Jacobs. And it is what it is. He had more explosive runs. He averaged more yards per carry. He had more yards. He had more touchdowns. Like, sorry, I can't help it. Do better. Don't be bitter. Be better. Be better.
Don't be bitter. Be better. I love it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us today. Don't forget, we'll be back again next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, bringing you all the tomfoolery and football news that we do every week. Thanks, everybody. Be sure to follow us on Facebook. And by the way, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I haven't said that in a while because our YouTube channel is like a poor child that's been neglected. He's been left in the car with the windows up. And it's a hot day, and we didn't leave him a bowl of water. So go to YouTube and subscribe. It's at Villain Squad. And help this poor little YouTube channel, the little YouTube channel that could. We have yet to make it to a threshold where it's worth anything. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, I'm imploring you, please do so today. On behalf of Russell Wayne and all of us here at the Villain Squad, I'm Main Event Mike, saying God bless each and every one of you. Peace out.
Play my game like